Hi, folks. It's Dr. Christine Sauer here again with Sparkles for Mental Health Growth in 5 Dimensions. And I'm extremely excited to have Dr. Mary Zennett. Is that correctly pronounced, Mary?
Yes, yes.
Dr. Mary Zennett here with me to talk about what she learned in her not so long life about health, wellness, and how to get healthy and stay that way. Welcome, Mary.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Christine. It's a privilege to be here.
Now, as I always said, we're both doctors, so leave it and go on first name basis. That's how I can do it. And I never push people to use my title. Yes, I do have it legally, it's all fine, but I don't care because that doesn't matter. It matters what you do and are as a person. And I know you're a wonderful person. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well,
what do you do and how did you get to be passionate about doing what you're doing?
It started years ago. It was when I was 3 years old. I remember my mom being so sick. My mom had so many health challenges. I was almost for a while like a caretaker at 3. Well, yeah, you can imagine because she was just so sick. But she fought. She was a fighter. And I watched her. And over the years, instead of getting weaker and weaker, she got stronger and stronger. And to make a long story short, in 1983, she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. She was given 6 months to live. It was absolutely devastating. And she took chemotherapy. She was down to 83 pounds. But I remember her saying, it's not my time to die. It's not. It's not. I'm supposed to live. Well, do you know she lived 26 more years with good quality of life? And looking back, I remember some of the things she'd say. She goes, watch everything you put in your mouth. She was a master of, she researched nutrition and was quite knowledgeable, although that was not her training. But she knew, and she was very spiritual. She was very prayerful. She knew. She goes, oh, that's good. Oh, no, that's not good. And she ate small portions. And so she beat that cancer. So what happened? That cancer was still in the bone, but there were membranes that surrounded it that stopped the spread. I saw the scans. I was in shock. I'm like, oh my God, that it was the power of the mind and the spirit. It's because she says, it's not my time. And then my children were born like in the early 90s. She's running around. I mean, with all this energy. And it's like, my God. So it was a profound imprint on my mind and my heart. I said, my God, there is so much to this. Power, spirituality, the power of prayer, and the power of nutrition. So really, that's how I got started.
Wow, that is a very powerful story. Tell me a little bit about further. You had children. Did you have a profession to learn something, as they say, besides life experience?
Well, I learned so much. My children were my best teachers. And, everything they said in the book, I said, no, let's put the book on the shelf and then deal with real life. Okay, so for me, nutrition was important. But I tell you, it's a challenge. Dr. Christine, one of my sons, I have 2 boys, and he loved chocolate. He would be embarrassed if I shared this with you today, okay? As a toddler, he's wearing chocolate all over his face, and I would try to give him supplements. And so now, in his 30s, he's starting to eat better. We've talked about it many, many times, but all you can do is plant the seeds as a parent. He used to love ketchup. So here's a child in a high chair, okay? he'd have two, or it was a little older than a high chair, but 2 fries and a plate full of ketchup, and I want more. It's like, what do you do with this? What do you do? So I truly empathize with parents. It is not easy being a parent, and he's a delightful child. He's just a sweet tempered child.
That shows about the resilience and shows about stubbornness, or better, tenacity. That is a good trait. It is hard for the parents to deal with a child with that, right?
Exactly. But then you never give up. You're always planting those seeds. So these lifestyle tips are so important. And I'll be honest with you, Dr. Christine, that's why I wrote my book, and it was just released. The You're Amazing, Itty Bitty Healthy Habits book, just released on Amazon yesterday.
Oh, wow. I have to get a copy. That sounds amazing. What are you talking about? Itty gritty, nitty bitty?
Itty bitty Healthy Habits book. So what occurred to me is there's so much information out there. But even if you're in the field, how do you keep up with all this research? And what I did is I wanted to imprint in each chapter simple, straightforward, that people can read and understand, that if they follow, can make a big difference in their lives. Because the pitfalls are too great today. We cannot take our health for granted. There are so many, there's 1,000 new chemicals released every year that are not tested for the safety of the human body. 1,000. Now, what about all the years of chemicals that nobody has tested? Nobody. So,
and some of those single substances may have been tested somewhat, but never ever has anybody tested the whole toxic soup.
Never. Absolutely.
Never, ever.
Never.
We are the guinea pigs.
We can only assume that if there's risks, we've got to do what we can to protect ourselves. So that's really why I wrote my book. So that the chapters, the itty bitty format, if anybody's familiar with it, it's you condense all this information in an itty bitty book. I said, that's perfect. I've got like 2 pages on high fructose corn syrup. Well, Dr. Mark Hyman wrote an article. He said 5 reasons why high fructose corn syrup will kill you. Now think about that. He didn't say might. He said will kill you. If that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will, because this is in everything. It's in so much. But what we talk about, so there's a list in there of foods that commonly have high fructose corn syrup. And what we tell people is it takes a little time, but you go through your cabinets. And you today with the computer, you can do your research at home. You can read the labels of the foods on the computer where it's big enough, you can see it. And if you see high fructose corn syrup, you get rid of that food. Just get rid of it. Because the incidence, the obesity, the diabetes, Alzheimer's now, there's so many, and he said, not may, will hurt you. So think about it. The other thing, Dr. Christine, is that the foods are being marketed to the kids at a record pace, okay? It breaks my heart, okay? The cereal aisle, okay? 90% of those cereals, we should not be feeding our children. The sugar content is off the scale. But yet, it's marketed such that the box almost jumps out at you and says, oh, buy me. No.
That's a beautiful tiger. It gives you energy. No, it's the opposite. It makes you sluggish. Now, did you see those new nutrition guidelines that just came out where they tell you that Lucky Charms are healthier than eggs fried in butter? No, that's the epiphany of nonsense.
Can you believe it? I mean, we talk about science. That's not backed in any real science. It's wrong. It's just wrong. So what we have to do, we're not, multi-million-dollar companies that can do all this marketing. We need to reach people one at a time, one person at a time. And
I think we need to build a community of practitioners like you and I and others that are common sense people to spread the message that it is not true, that science is a pseudo-religion nowadays. It's not science anymore. I think you do that with that book, and I love it. The Itty Bitty Healthy Habits. I have to get it.
Yeah, Itty Bitty Book of Healthy Habits. I'll get you the link. And but these are the things we talk about. So let your food be your medicine, okay? If it's full of chemicals, now all this processed food, it's not even a real food. It's chopped up in little pieces, and there's all kinds of additives. And what is that doing for our health? Nothing. And I've heard you talk about the nutrients. I've heard you talk about the symphony of nutrients in the body. And the processed food and the wrappers, that's not giving us any nutrients.
No, that kills the musicians that want to play, and that kills the harmony, and it makes us sick.
Exactly.
I'm glad that you are pointing that out in that book. It's such an important book. Thank you.
And the other things we talk about, so we get into, besides the foods, which is really important, water, okay? Water is essential, but there's so many communities, the water is so unhealthy. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I used to live in Washington State, and I'll talk to people, very health conscious. They're like, well, I live in Washington. Our municipal water is great. And I'm thinking to myself, have you checked your local public health website? Each community has its own website, and you can check the status of your water. Well, I'm telling you, a lot of those communities in Washington, I saw an article, they were pouring toxins and pollutants into the Puget Sound. Now, and these are the residents that, oh, I live in Washington. My water's great. I don't need water purification. Really? Keep yourself informed. I wish the Puget Sound was clean. I wish all bodies of water were clean. But when you do your research, and again, this doesn't take much time. We all have a public health local website that can talk. They talk about how your water is graded. And if you have any doubts, okay, then and we talk about that in the book, how you must get a cleaner source of water. The other thing I want to bring up is that now there are tremendous resources to help us. There is an environmental working group, EWG, and all you do, go on their website. They have healthy living rating scales. You can go on there and research your local household products. Some of our cleaning products are absolutely toxic. They're toxic, and we're using them. We're spraying them in our homes, and we're breathing them, okay? But now, all you need to do is go to that healthy living guide, and you will very, very, very quickly, and there's an app on the phone. You could take it when you're shopping. It's like, oh, gee, that's a popular cleaner, but it's rated F. It's getting a failing grade. What's that telling you? You want to be doing the A and B. And believe me, many of the popular ones, they may get a C, but you can even do better. Go for A and B. Again, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But as we switch, Dr. Christine, you talk so much about us living our purpose. If we're not healthy, if we're bombarding ourselves with poison, how are we going to live our purpose?
It's impossible. It's impossible to really live and have energy if we are pouring poison on the little plant, especially when we have children. It's even more important. The children nowadays are already weakened, and that makes them weaker and weaker and weaker.
Exactly. Well, and I tell you, children's bodies are so sensitive. If you did nothing else, you make these changes, you're doing it for yourself, but do it for your children, because those early years as they're growing, okay, the less toxins that they're exposed to, the better. And the brain, Dr. Christine, we talked about this, the impacts of their little growing brains with all these chemicals, all these of what's in the food, and the cleaners, just everything. It is a toxic, you said it, a toxic soup. And we're trying to raise awareness for people. Do not take anything for granted. Be proactive. And Dr. Christine has a wealth of resources. Get on those resources. And again, a lot of them are free. YouTube, a lot of them are free. And at least get your bearings and start moving your life in the right direction. So, and in the book, I talk about the ants and the beavers. Today we don't value much, but the power of the little ants, the little ants, because they work together, they can change the soil. They're there working, but they're very diligent with their work. And the same for the beaver, okay? Twig by twig, they're making these dams. Now think about it, because we're, as people, we go, oh, I can't do anything. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do anything. But you can. If a group of ants can come together and help restore the soil, and beavers can come together and they can build a dam that will prevent, catastrophic water from flooding. Well, how much more can we do? One step at a time. I think the problem is, we get this message on the media that, oh, I have to be a global jet setter, and I have to do this, and I have to. Guess what? If you get up with a positive mindset, like you talk about, you know your purpose, and you put one foot in front of the other, you make positive changes in your life, you're really doing something. You are doing something. And then you share with your family and your friends. And like you say, with the little ants, one person at a time. And you don't beat people over the head. You share what you're doing. And the more that we share, the more we live in community and harmony. It's living in harmony. And we're helping our children, we're protecting. Dr. Christine, one thing I want to mention, COVID wreaked havoc on the globe. It really did. It did. What's disturbed me is the number of cases of malnutrition. Our state of nutrition is not good anyway, but with the supply chain problems and around the world, people just not getting clean food. We don't think about that. We think of a virus, a pandemic, but we don't think about the nutritional price people have paid with COVID. So now that we're coming out of that, we gotta COVID-proof our lives. These are just things that we need to do. And be aware, I remember at the height of COVID, we used to get a lot of calls for our food kitchens. Our food banks were really short supply. Why? Because a lot of people lost work and they were going to the food banks. Well, do you know there was one church near me and they had in their food bank, huge, once or twice a week, and they'd have organic produce, quality, top quality. And here it didn't cost anything. Now think about that. and think about if you can donate a little bit, either financially or with goods. Back then, it was so bad, the post office was collecting in our mailboxes to help restore our food banks. That's how bad the depletion was of food.
And it is really an interesting concept, and you're so right, because many people think, oh, I'm fat, I'm obese, I'm overnourished, but it's the opposite is true. We get big because we are malnourished, and our brain has sensors. It knows we are not getting the right food. So it tells you, I'm still hungry, I want to eat. Exactly. And that's how you get overweight. That's the truth behind getting obese. It's not that you're a glutton, you have no discipline or willpower. You're damaged by the system. You get fed the wrong foods and you don't get nourished. And your brain notices and said, I want to eat, I want to eat.
Exactly, because you're hungry. And that's what they said. It's like overfed and undernourished. One of the big doctors that publishes a lot said that. And it's so true. And our kids, the rates of obesity are greater and greater and greater. Why? Look at what they're eating.
Yeah, the Twinkie diet, right? Big deal.
Exactly. Now, the cereals, it's terrible. The amount of sugars and high fructose corn syrup in a lot of these. Now think about how many bowls a day the kids are eating of these cereals.
Yeah. And on top of that, you certainly know the glyphosate story.
Oh,
and it's a classic obesogen, and they spray it in millions of tons all over North America. It's outlawed in Europe by now, but not in North America. So we're getting better and better.
I know. And I'll tell you what, with that glyphosate, it robs the body of all the nutrients in the body. Anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's a pesticide. It is very toxic. It's in our food supply. You said, well, why is this? How is this? It just is. It's everywhere. So it puts the burden on us to eat organic whenever possible, because the organic standards are high. But I'll tell you what, I hear people all the time tell me, but it's too expensive. I get that. But what is the price, especially the kids? What's that doing for our brains, Dr. Christine? What's
the price of bad health? What's the price of being sick?
Exactly. You're debilitated. You cannot do anything. You have no quality of life. But the pesticides in the food, these are health crises. And unfortunately, we don't have the protections. We may think we do, but we do not.
Not at all. The glyphosate story is a very interesting story. I talked to a researcher who's quite old, and he worked with the Canadian government many years ago when glyphosate was licensed. And he said it was originally developed as an antibiotic. And it was highly effective as an antibiotic, but it was too toxic for use in humans. So some very smart marketers said, well, we can't use it in humans because it will kill them. So let's put it on the crops that we eat.
Oh my God. Oh.
Makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, how stupid are people nowadays that they actually do that? I blame the government for that, because there must be people that realized what they were doing and just didn't care.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I was looking at a video. In fact, this is in my book too. It is, and I don't know about Canada, but in the US, biosludge. Have you heard about this? Oh my God. Every American needs to, and again, I don't know in Canada, but here was all the toxins coming out of the water treatment plants. They get the water and they're putting this in our soils, all these chemicals. And what they're telling people, don't flush things down the toilet because it's going right into our soil.
It's going into a soil anyway, even when you put it in the garbage, because it's going on the garbage skip, and then it seeps in the soil because they leak.
I know. There are no regulations.
No,
So
it's
this was
ridiculous.
sad. So there was a former EPA, and he tried to bring this up. Well, he lost his job. He lost his job. Here's a brilliant man. And we need people like this. We need people like this that are not afraid to speak. Well, so now he speaks, but he doesn't have a job. So we have to wise up. We really do.
Especially as the older generation. And I call on everybody that has a stable income and is not dependent on their employment and is muzzled or they will lose it.
Right.
Please continue, speak out, even in a small way. You are the last hope for mankind.
That's right. Let that sink in. You are our last hope for mankind. I mean, if that's not a sobering statement, I don't know what is. And you know what, Dr. Christine, each of us can do something. Now, suppose you're in a job where you really can't speak out, okay? I truly get that, okay? I truly get that. But you know what? You can talk to your family. You can talk to your friends. You can talk to your neighbors. You don't realize how much influence you have. And if you're a parent with children in school, you talk to the parents. And again, be discreet, don't get a megaphone and, draw attention to yourself. I'm sorry, these are the days we're living in. These are the days we're living in, but speak, learn, and share.
Yeah. And notice what's going on around you. And we both can probably tell stories about what happened. And I remember even in Germany, and that was about 30 years ago when we were practicing, we were living on the country, and Germany has beautiful potato fields, lovely potatoes. And when you boil them in the pressure cooker, they smell beautiful. And then they started to put the sludge of a city close by on the fields across a big road. And on one side of the road, it wasn't. On the other side of the road, they were sprayed. So one day we made an experiment and bought the potatoes from the other side of the road and put them the same way as the others. We opened the cooker after they were boiled, and the smell was solid and it was miserable. We had to throw them out. There was sewage sludge the first time they did it. They still do it. And now everybody's used to the awful tasting potatoes. It's ridiculous. They don't know anymore how good real food tastes.
Exactly. Yeah, we're at a critical moment in history. I mean, it's not to, be honest with you, I'm not a fan of drama or catastrophe, but this is catastrophic. Okay, this has been building up for a long time, and you feel like nobody listens. So we have to learn, take action, and share. That's a 3-part process with restoring our health for ourselves and each other and our little communities. So important. So Dr. Christine, while we're talking, I believe you have a lot of resources to that.
We both do, Mary. And whoever the people that are listening and watching these shows listen to, reach out to one of us, whatever appeals to you. And I always believe sometimes people just speak to you. And if you feel Mary speaks to you, contact her. The address is under the video and in the show notes. If what I say makes sense, reach out to me. We both work together very well. And all the holistic practitioners or the practitioners that care about this world, and people generally that care about this world and about the health of our children and of each of us, we work all together. Reach out to one of us and don't give up.
Absolutely. And learn, right? Have an open mind, because I hear people say all the time, oh, it's too much. No, it's not too much. If you listen to one of Dr. Christine's videos, or you pick up my little book, okay, it's a little book. It's, 50 pages. Guess what? It's a itty bitty book. It's 30 30 pages. Okay.
Get it. It's probably just a few dollars. Anybody can afford it. It's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Get it.
Today, it's 99 cents on Amazon.
Oh my God, I have to go on Amazon, get it. I want that book. And I'm sure when you're listening, you want that book because there's so much helpful and focused information in it. And that's what you need. Don't let yourself be distracted by all the nonsense going on. Honestly, it's sad for the people in China when there's an earthquake. It does not affect me here. Not now. Look after yourself, your family, your community first. If there's something left over, maybe it's time to care about other people in the world.
Well, I'm a huge advocate of caring for the world. I really am. But I'm going to tell you something. If you don't take care of yourself, there is nothing left for you to care about anybody. Right. Anybody. Right. So it's a mandate because nobody is looking after you. Nobody is protecting you. You have to do that within body, mind, and spirit, and have an open mind. Yeah, it's a must.
Start with yourself, and if you have something left, then reach out to other parts of the world. Don't do it the other way around because you will suffer, and your family will suffer.
Yeah, you won't have anything left. You won't have, I'm a big advocate, especially when COVID hit. My God, the people of the world suffered so much. But when you're taking care of yourself, yeah, part of your day, yeah, you can lend a little bit, share a little bit with others, and have an open heart. But you've got to take care of yourself and your family and avoid these pitfalls. We're bombarded with them, bombarded.
And sometimes all we can do is send positive energy in the world to help out. And I'm trying to do that. And if you feel stressed out, I have a little resource that I give away for free too. Just go to www.123calm.org. I put that under my video. It's on my website too. And get Mary's little book. And I think together we might make a difference. Maybe for you, maybe for your neighbor, maybe a little bit increase the positive energy in this world. And maybe we'll change something on the larger scale. It would be awesome, wouldn't it?
That is so awesome. 123calm.org. And you are absolutely right, Dr. Christine. The energy of our thoughts, and this is the high vibrational, this is one of the best things we can do. That's why prayer is so effective. Our heartfelt prayers, okay? We're lifting our spirits. And it really does make a difference in the world. HeartMath is an organization, and they measure, and they say the heart is the highest vibrational frequency organ on the planet.
Great book, and they actually did research that prayer can contribute to healing. It absolutely does. We know it. And in the Bible, you know what it says for Paul? Pray without cessation. Now, when that is not mindfulness, I don't know what is. We don't need mindfulness training. We need to look in the ancient text. It already said it there. All traditions of the world say the same thing. This is the moment that counts. Use it. Look to the future. Have a goal. But live now and make one step in the right direction and spread your energy. Pray without cessation. Let your light shine. If that's not positive energy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Christine. It is a delight.
It's a delight to have you. It's a delight to spread this energy together, and we'll do it. Please spread some positive energy right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for being on my show. And your book is essential reading for anybody that wants to increase their capacity to spread the positive energy in this world and sparkle. And that's why the show is called Sparkles for Mental Health Growth in 5-Dimension Growth. This is upward spiral. And you are on it, and we are on it, and we are all in that together. And that's it. Thank you so much for being on the show, Mary. It was a pleasure to talk with you. What a wonderful person. And what a great message. And thank you so much. And if you listen to this show, make sure to subscribe to it so you don't miss other episodes of wonderful practitioners. And maybe I'll have Mary on again because she's awesome. So if you subscribe, you don't miss it. And I'd love to have you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christine.